Howdy, y'all. This is Proverbs chapter 25, NASB, for February 25th, 2023. These are also the Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied. It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out. As the heavens for height and the earth for depth, so the heart of kings is unsearchable. Take away the dross from the silver, and the smith has material for a vessel. Take away the wicked from the presence of a king, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Do not put yourself forward in the king's presence, or stand in the place of the great. For it is better to be told, "Come up here," than to be put lower in the presence of a noble. What your eyes have seen, do not hastily bring into court. For what will you do in the end when your neighbor puts you to shame? Argue your case with your neighbor himself, and do not reveal another secret, lest he who hears you bring shame upon you, and your ill repute have no end. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Like a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise reprover to a listening ear. Like the cold of snow in the time of harvest is a faithful messenger to those who send him. He refreshes the soul of his masters. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts of a gift he does not give. With patience a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue will break a bone. If you found honey, eat only enough for you, lest you have your fill of it and vomit it. Let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house, lest he have his fill of you and hate you. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a war club or a sword or a sharp arrow. Trusting in a treacherous man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth or a foot that slips. Whoever sings songs to a heavy heart is like one who takes off a garment on a cold day, and like vinegar on soda. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he's thirsty, give him water to drink, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. The north wind bring forth rain, and a backbiting tongue angry looks. It is better to live in the corner of a housetop than a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. Like a muddied spring or a polluted fountain is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. It is not good to eat much honey, nor is it glorious to seek one's own glory. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Oh man. Someone with no walls. A city with no walls means your resources are at the will of anybody who comes and takes them, you know? So your attention is a resource. So if you have no self-control, it's like, ooh, shiny thing, ooh, new thing, ooh, somebody's trying to sell me this thing. We need to have self-control. And that also is, our daily walk, where we find ourselves, how we conduct ourselves, things like that. I think it's interesting too. A muddied spring or a polluted fountain is like a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. And it's interesting because it's like, I don't know that's unrecoverable, but there's a recent analogy going around on TikTok, Facebook, things like that, where, your life is a glass of pure water, and then crap comes into it. But if you try to get the crap out, then you also lose some of your pure water. So the point is you pour more good in. You bring in more holiness, you bring in more righteousness, and eventually it floods out the bad stuff, and you're left with much more pure stuff, if not pure, eventually. One of the things I heard recently is about heaping burning coals on somebody's head, that as an act of contrition, when you wrong somebody, you would basically put a pan of coals on your head. This was an Egyptian thing. And it would be a hot pan or hot vessel, and it would essentially like burn the top of your head, and you would go through that to show people, like, I'm this sorry. I'm so sorry that I offended you. Look, I'm burning myself. And it was an act of contrition. But in this way, like, it doesn't, just like I think it was yesterday, maybe day before, we're not supposed to rejoice when our enemies stumble and fall or are humbled, because the Lord will basically change what's going on there. They won't get reproved as hard, or maybe it'll come back on us. But in this way, like, we're supposed to be helping our enemies and loving them anyway, and like that, your behavior adds to the shame of how they've treated you, perhaps. So there's something there. And always this is something that I try to keep in mind, is to stay humble, Don't put yourself in the popular kid's place. Don't put yourself in the important people place, because it's going to be much more shameful to be told, like, Cheetah, what are you doing up here, man? You got to go. We need the seat. This guy's here. And, he's way more important. So there's way more shame in that than there is to be like, anybody seen Cheetah? Can somebody find him and get him up here, sit with us? You know what I mean? I heard something wise from a guy named AI Love, or I believe that's still his name on Twitter. And it was that his mom always told him, don't try to keep up with the popular crowd, because they're not going to invite you anyway. And that's mean. But at the same time, like, yeah, that is kind of how the popular crowd works. You don't keep up with the Joneses, because, in gamer terms, we call that a try hard. And people don't like that. Even if we tell people, like, try hard, do the things we tell you to do, there's like some unspoken societal norms of how you go about those things. So I digress. It's the same way. And, we need to be purified. And over time, life, if we're doing the right thing, we take the hard things on the chin. And, I listened again to Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life again today. And, you got to take the dross out the silver to have real silver, sterling silver, to be able to do something with, pure silver. And, trial by fire is hard and difficult and painful. But that is life. So be blessed. But on that note, I just mentioned to some friends earlier that I was sitting with, oh, hey, I owe this buddy a call. We've been playing phone tags for a couple of weeks. And it turns out that he's in fact in the ICU right now, because some events this week led to him going to the hospital and finding out he's got a big brain tumor on the front of his brain. So I want to pray for him. And if any of my subscribers watching, there are 44 of y'all now. I love y'all. Thank you. Thank you for being with me every day, even if it's just for the shorts and not these, and I'm talking to myself. It helps me get it out. But if anybody is watching this, lift up my friend in prayer. And we'll say his initials. Well, better yet, we'll say his initials, JH. And any prayer for him is appreciated, because I don't even know what to do. I'm going to go see my friend. And supposedly right now he's not even able to walk. So where do you go with that? We're at an opportunity for him to go gracefully into God's arms and to, his next life and inheritance, or for something really extraordinary to happen, and for him to have another phase of this life and to be able to glorify God. So hopefully that happens either way. I know another friend of mine has been talking with him and trying to help him maintain perspective on that front too. So, Joe, thank you for that, homie. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to end on that note, but tell anybody in your life that you love them, if you love them, because any given day it could change on a dime. Be blessed.